Hello and hello. Thank you for joining me. How you guys doing? Look at this. Kurzgesagt. I've heard this referenced, this channel referenced, and it's no wonder why. They have 25 million subscribers. Small and up-and-coming YouTube channel. Check them out, link down below. If you're one of the 40% of Germans that haven't already subscribed. 3.7 million views in just 7 days. Germany is over, guys. It's over. I need to react to this. This is bad news for me and my channel. And also, I guess, Germany.
Germany will soon crash into the consequences of a fertility crisis.
I'm glad it's in English. Okay, fertility.
Made much worse by the mismanagement of the boomer generation.
I like... the way I interpreted that is that Germans mismanaged the boomers. You know, they mismanaged those people. But what he's actually saying is the boomers mismanaged Germany.
To the boomer generation. The demographic collapse tearing up the generational contract may soon destroy one of Germany's greatest achievements, its welfare state. Millennials, Gen Z and younger are left with a huge mess they somehow need to sort while they're outvoted by the grey bloc making the decisions for them. What happened?
It is unfortunate. I guess maybe it's that way in Germany too. Like, the older people are, the more likely they are to vote here in America. I believe that's accurate. Like, I think that correlates like perfectly. The older you are, the more you vote. Which is fine, except for that it just majorly skews, you know, the results in favor of what old people care about, which is not always necessarily what's best for the country as a whole. No offense to old people. Everybody should get a fair and equal vote, you know? It's just that it's really offensive to the young people. Like, what the fudge are all the young people doing? Why aren't they voting?
Population collapse. Germany was among the first countries to industrialize, and so its fertility rates dropped early in the 20th century. But for
it's funny how that works.
55 years, they've been below replacement at 1.4 children per woman in 2025.
Ooh.
Compared to South Korea, this sounds almost amazing.
South Korea is 0.8. Holy crap.
But it still means population collapse. If fertility stays at 1.4, then 100 Germans will have 70 kids. When those grow up, they'll have 49 kids, who'll then have 34 kids, who'll have 24.
It really happens kind of quickly, huh?
A 76% drop within 4 generations.
Yeah.
Many people think there are too many humans anyway, so what's the big deal? Well, at the same time, people started living much, much longer. So we have a fatal mix of way more grannies and way fewer babies. The real crisis German millennials, Gen Z and younger will have to live through is the massive shift in population composition and the transition period. In 2026, Germany is already one of the oldest countries in the world, with a median
oldest in the world.
Age of over 4.
Wait, so for some reason it actually flatlined in 2016. Is that because of immigration? The US is just like going up slowly. Wow, Nigeria is like 18 years old. That's freaking nuts. You think about it. That is nuts.
45. Almost 2 in 5 Germans are over 50. Almost 1 in 4 is old.
So this is why old people just, I mean, they literally just outnumber young people.
Older than 65.
I'm sorry.
Almost 2 in 5 Germans are over 50.
Okay. Wow.
Almost 1 in 4 is older than 65. Only 1 in 8 is a child under 14. Despite its industrial production declining, suffocating bureaucracy, and little economic growth, Germany's system is still chugging along, and it remains one of the richest countries. The country still has a big population and a big workforce,
they're playing frisbee,
along with generous social benefits and pension payouts. But
right.
soon, the reality of demographics and boomer mismanagement will hit Germany like a freight train. Population crash means that a society...
But it'll be a really nice freight train, a fast one that's, you know, available to the public, you know. It's not something America has very much of. So there's that. At least you'll be killed by a nice freight train.
society and culture loses more than just people. The systems and countries we've built can't just be downscaled. Things stop working.
I did just realize that, it's a freight train. So actually, America has a lot of freight trains.
Germans are screwed. Old ones too. By 2036,
Damn.
13
Sorry, guys.
million German baby boomers will retire. This big bulge here. But because they didn't have nearly enough kids, way fewer younger people will replace them. In 2030 alone, there might be millions of jobs that will be impossible to fill. Fewer people will.
Hey, that's true. That's interesting. I guess, at least, considering AI is trying to take everyone's job, like, this will balance that out.
Working means fewer taxes and resources for the state. Also, services will decline, waiting times will increase for everything from your bags at the airport to doctor's appointments. But the much more urgent issue is retirees. Germany has a pay-as-you-go pension system, which means that about 20% of today's salaries is directly paid out to pensioners. This sort of worked in the 1960s when there were 5 working Germans for every retiree. But in 2024, this ratio is down to about 2.5. In the 2030s, it will get closer to 2 workers for 1 pensioner. And about 10 years after retirement, people tend to get really sick and cause the vast majority of healthcare costs. The math ain't mathing, and it actually never really did. Already in the 1970s, governments began to subsidize the pension funds with tax revenue, pushing the problem into the future, as has more or less every single government since then. Well, the future is today. In 2025, the German federal government spent roughly a quarter of its annual tax revenues to fix holes in the pension system, on top of the working population's payments. Let's say that again. 1 in 4 German tax euros is used to pay out pensions today. More than on education, research, infrastructure, and defense combined. The wealth of the nation is redistributed from the young and the working to the old and retired. And as the boomers retire, this will only get worse. It's money that...
And they're the ones voting to keep it all in place. Oh, no.
Could be spent on things that help the young and the working part of the population, like incentives to start a family, lower taxes, free childcare, cheap loans to buy homes.
Although Japan, for instance, has tried to really incentivize child stuff, and they have a very low fertility rate. So I mean, I'm all for that, but it is a difficult problem to actually solve, isn't it? You have to make people want to have kids, which can be hard. That's not just an easy thing to solve,
Incentives to start a family.
Which, I mean, a lot of people, it seems like a lot of people, to want to have kids, you need to have you just need to be really optimistic about the future, I feel like, is for one thing. The other thing is, it really helps if you just don't have very good birth control. But we have that now. That's what really fucked us all over, huh? Just really good birth control.
Lower taxes, free childcare, cheap loans to buy homes, investment.
Because even when people want kids, most people just want 1 or 2. Some people want 3 or... some people want 4. They're nuts, huh? You guys are nuts. But, most people just want 1 or 2. So even if everything is free with the child, most people just only want 1 or 2, right? Which is below replacement. I mean, 2 is replacement, but 1 and 2 is below replacement. Anyway, let's continue.
It's in education.
It's a hard problem.
Infrastructure or clean energy. There are so many things that would help young Germans. But will millennials and Gen Z get to enjoy similar pensions at least? Well, it's not very likely. The current system only works for boomers because they're...
I'm laughing, but this is really not even funny. I'm just awkward. This sucks.
Parents.
I guess AI is as awful as AI is in so many ways. It's also it's our only... I don't know. I guess we're just screwed because it just sounds horrible as I'm saying it. Nobody wants to be taken care of by an AI robot when they're 80 years old. But that might be the only way. Yikes.
had more children and died younger, and because Germany was booming and the problem escalated slowly. Young people today don't have all of that. Okay, that's depressing, but at least the
It's a great case for immigration, though.
young can take care of their own retirement and save money, right? Well, many sure would like to, but taxes and contributions are about 40% of salaries for the average worker and almost 50% in the highest tax brackets, one of the highest in the world. Together with the rising cost of living and sluggish wage growth, this makes it especially hard for young and middle-aged Germans to generate savings for their own retirements. One of the best investments, wealth generators and places of comfort and security, is owning your own place. But due to a mix of NIMBYs preventing new development, increasing mountains of new regulations making building more expensive, and millions of people immigrating to Germany in the last few decades, the housing supply is deeply behind demand. Renting and buying real estate in metropolitan areas where young people actually want to live is so expensive today that even couples with a dual income and good jobs have a really hard time affording it. The generational contract in Germany is broken. And yet, some...
You know, I mean, yeah, I guess I'm torn on that because, like, it's the same way here in the States, but at the same time, it's like, I personally live out in frickin' Indiana, you know, and guess what? Houses are cheap out here. Like, I get it, it's not the coolest place to live, but I'm sure it's like in Germany, too. Like, yeah, you just got to live somewhere not as cool, you know, but guess what? By you living there, you're making it cool. Because you're cool.
media voices continue to frame all this as a failure of young people's financial habits. The reality is complicated, and misleading narratives permeate the media landscape. Thankfully, there is a solution. Our partner Ground News is a website and app built to help you think critically about the information you consume.
I actually like this Ground News. I actually do like them. I use it. Like, it's useful to see it broken, the story is broken down by like left and right. You know, it's useful. It's cool. It's fun. So go check them out and use their link, you know. Nutshell, ground.news nutshell. There, I did the ad for them.
A subscription and directly supports our
40% off
channel. And now, back to the video. Young Germans are condemned to pay off a huge loan on the future that the older generations have generously granted themselves.
Oh man, they're just eating pretzels, aren't they? Is that like typically I think of the elites, you know, it's like Mary Antoinette, you know, Marie Antoinette. Let them eat cake, you know, they're out there dining with wine and cake, and it's like, in Germany it's pretzels, which sounds even better to me. I would love a birthday pretzel. Anyway, let's move on.
Pay off a huge loan on the future that the older generations have generously granted themselves. And they don't have the power to change this by voting, because German parties just have no incentive to help young people. Demographic decline in a democracy is a feedback
Well, I think they have an incentive because they won't exist if they don't help young people. Like, their country won't exist.
loop.
But I guess that's a long-term thing, which can be a problem.
And seniors are the largest group of voters. Politicians make politics for them. This leaves young Germans facing a hard time building wealth or getting their own homes, which makes them even less willing to start families and have children, even if they want to. All of which is making the demographic crash worse. Germany has become a society that works for the old and relies on the young, making it really hard to create new young people. Baby boomers' lives are affected too. With unsustainable pension funds, inevitably millions of older Germans will have to work much longer than they thought. A retirement age of 70 or higher is already being discussed. Today, about 20% of German...
Yeah, and I mean, I know, like, it's easy to blame old people, but also, like, I have to admit, if I was, like, retiring, you know, wherever it may be, Germany, America, I'd be like, you're damn right I'm getting my Social Security. Like, you know, they're always talking, it's unsustainable. We can't keep paying it out. I'd be like, well, I paid in for 50 years and I'm getting mine, which is a bit selfish, but it's also like, you know, that's kind of like human nature to be like, well, you know, even if you're pretty generous, I'm a generous type of person, I think. But even, you know, you're still like, yeah, but I'm getting mine. You know, I'm not going to vote for someone who's like cutting Social Security when you're 70 years old. You know, you're not going to do that to yourself.
Pensioners live in poverty, and that rate is all but guaranteed to increase significantly in the 2030s.
Fond?
Still,
I'm still holding out for my fond.
seniors and boomers in total own the vast majority of Germany's wealth. Germans are even arguing about to what extent.
It's funny how that worked. Like, that's the same as in USA and like everywhere, huh? Interesting.
The vast majority of Germany's wealth. Germans are even arguing about to what extent the costs of social systems have gotten out of hand. Even in a high-tax country like Germany, there's plenty of wealth disparity and opportunities to tax the rich and take pressure off workers. Although, of course, the details are fiercely debated, so we'll not get into this right now. But the scale of the gap between what workers pay and what's needed to cover boomers' pensions is so enormous that even raising taxes would only buy a bit of time. And beyond pensions, the welfare and healthcare systems Germans rely upon may become unaffordable in the 2030s.
Doesn't it just kind of feel like it's like there's something else is the issue? You know, it's like the efficiency of the system. You know, even though you got that freaking German efficiency working for you, but like it's also the bureaucracy. You know what I mean? It just feels like there's all this bull crap. It's just how it feels. I could be totally wrong. I have no idea, man. Don't come to me asking for a solution. I don't know. It's very complicated. But like, yeah, I don't know.
The vast majority of healthcare costs occur during the last quarter of your life. So just as the healthcare workforce is...
And, you know, I guess we're just going to have to, like, cut, you know, we're just going to have to pick an age, you know, 78 years old and be like, all right, you're no longer getting healthcare. You're just getting morphine. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. But you're done. You're just getting morphine. You won't feel a thing. I'm joking. But it is weird when you think about it. You know, it's like... If healthcare gets good enough, then I guess you'll just be able to keep people alive, like, indefinitely. Like, if you could keep someone alive to 150 years old, but they're not able to work for those 70 years that they're alive, you know, past 80 years old, then at what point do you, like, what do you do? I don't know. That's kind of a moral conundrum. That actually is difficult. I don't know what you do. I don't know what the right thing is to do. Do you just let them die? Even though you could keep them alive? I mean, that's really hard. Shit, I don't know. Ship them off to an island? Find an island? Find the next Australia? Instead of criminals, we send just old people there? I don't know.
Okay.
Just kidding, old people. Damn it.
Costs occur during the last quarter of your life. So just as the healthcare workforce is shrinking due to demographics, the numbers of patients will explode. The waiting time for a specialist doctor is already months in the state healthcare system. Okay, but what about immigration? Whatever your opinion on immigration is, pro or against, please put it in a box and ignore it for a moment. We only want to look at it from one perspective.
All right.
Can it solve the population crash?
I mean, only if it's young immigrants that are productive and have kids. I think that's the answer. And they don't import their like parents. Like, it has to be young people. Then I think the answer is yes.
Let's look at the population again.
But not if you're importing a bunch of old people or unproductive people.
If a country's pyramid looks like this and you want to stabilize it at the bottom, immigration won't do that. For one, it doesn't actually make your country that much younger. In Germany, the birth rate of most of its immigrants isn't higher than the locals. And if new immigrants have more children, they tend to adjust to the rest of the population within 2 generations. Sure, immigration over the last few decades has delayed the coming crash, and in the transition period, we'll run into serious worker shortfalls, especially in healthcare and nursing. So zero immigration doesn't seem wise or feasible. But there's a problem. If birth rates stay as...
You know, I mean, this is probably very, like, not politically correct, but I always think this about, like, here in America. So the immigration question is about illegal immigrants that sneak in through the southern border. You know, that's always been the big dealio. And I'm kind of like, okay, like, obviously you're not allowed to do that, right? You're not allowed to do that. Don't do that. But if you manage to do that, then holy shit, that says something about you as a person. First of all, you're capable of working. And they do. Like, the illegal immigrants in America are very productive. They do a lot of work. And you're probably not like 90 years old if you're, swimming across the frickin' river, jumping a fence, and running through the desert for 10 miles. So it's like, in that way, it actually filters out, and just like the people that make it are like good workers. So I'm just like, it's not like the worst problem, guys. And they make really good food. And they're nice. Anyway.
Low as they are, or go down even more, then the German population will continue to shrink. And to keep it stable, it would constantly need to be replenished by new immigrants, until they age and themselves need new immigrants to pay for their retirement.
Right.
No matter if you think this is a good
idea. It kind of feels like a Ponzi scheme or something.
Idea or not, it's not actually possible. Birth rates are crashing everywhere. Eventually, immigration around the world will slow down massively. The world is running out of young people. So immigration can delay the issue a bit and ease the consequences, but that's it. Germany either has to solve its demographic crash, or its welfare state and pension systems will break.
This is actually crazy. Like this, I know this isn't, like I know of this issue. We all know of this issue, but it's like not something we like think about enough. Like this is a major, major problem, not just in Germany, but a lot of places, really worldwide, like he's saying. And it's like, we need to figure some shit out. How are we going to have more kids? That's just it. And we might have to do something radical. We're going to have to start making kids in tubes. Something. Seriously.
Conclusion and opinion part. So, how over is...
But then at that point, you're playing God, which is weird. I don't want to play God. I know a lot of people like Donald Trump think that they're smart enough to be God. I'm not under that impression. I should not be God.
Germany. The demographic crisis is the greatest danger to German living standards and social cohesion. And the same crisis is unfolding in all Western countries. Things are about to escalate in Germany, Italy, France, and Poland.
Italy's at 1.1.
But the same issues are also on the horizon in the US, Argentina, or Canada. The reality nobody wants to talk about is that solving the demographic crisis will be very painful. It will require sacrifices from everyone, and politicians seem incapable of addressing it honestly. But to solve
this video has me scared.
The demographic
I know this about Germany, but it's really about everywhere.
Crisis for real, something no nation has done successfully so far, might mean doing things that are intensely unpopular with older voters. Instead of spending 25% of Germany's entire budget on the elderly, especially the wealthiest among them, we could invest more of it in families, paying for housing and childcare, and making it an amazing deal.
Yeah, you might have to literally do something that radical, right? At this point, you're talking about saving the population of the planet, and of Germany, and of, there's nothing more dire than that. So it's like, all right, we're just going to have to, I don't know what we're going to have to do, but we're going to have to literally like buy these people. Like if you start a family, then we will buy you a house and pay for all your child care and shit, and you got to have 3 kids, Is that sustainable? I don't know. Maybe. Depends, right? Depends where you cut other resources. Like, do we have the resources to do that? Yes. I think so. Yeah.
Have a big family. More than anything, our attitude to kids and families needs to change. Demographics move slowly, but then unstoppably. The next few decades will be rough, but our societies can decide just how rough and what.
It's crazy how in China, this issue is a total disaster, and they hugely exacerbated it with their own policy, the one-child policy in China. Now they've flipped that on its head. They're like, please have kids. But China, really screwed themselves with that policy.
Kind of societies will emerge on the other side.
Oh, there we go. Yay, that makes me happy. We're going to all die. And then, you know, but at least the next society might be good. Yeah. Gotta end on a positive note somehow, huh?
Making this video was hell. We wrote the first draft in the winter of 2023. We killed this script again and again, only to be annoyed and start fresh. This topic is complex, and people angrily disagree about it, so present...
Interesting. Damn, man, I'm having an existential crisis, so that's great. Good job, YouTube. What are they called? Kurzgesagt. The world when it's my turn to be an adult. Of course, right? Of frickin' course. The world somehow having both a housing shortage and a birth rate problem is wild. Yep, and they're not entirely unrelated, huh? Not entirely unrelated. If you could buy a big house with a decent amount of land for, if you could afford that, then you'd be a lot more likely to have kids, huh? It's kind of hard to have kids. It's hard to have 3 kids in an apartment. Shout out if you're in that, if you did that. Anyway, all right. Thank you for joining me. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye.